The door swung open and Amara froze. A half-naked man stood by the window, tattoos crawling up his ribs like dark smoke, a scar cutting across his shoulder. He turned slowly, his eyes locked on hers. Cold. Dangerous. "Room service," she managed to whisper. "I didn't order room service." His voice was low, controlled, with a Korean accent that made every word sound like a threat. That's when she realized she had walked into the wrong room, and the door behind her just locked. Let her rewind. 30 minutes earlier, her name was Amara Okafor, and she worked part-time at the Celestial Phoenix Hotel in Seoul. That night, she was exhausted, her feet were killing her, and she had 15 minutes left on her shift. Her coworker shoved a crumpled paper in her hand and said, "Room 1104, champagne service, VIP." The handwriting was terrible. The smudged ink made the 11 look like 14. Amara didn't notice. She grabbed the tray, took the elevator, and walked straight into the wrong floor. Now back to the present. Back to the man staring at her like she was a problem he was deciding how to solve. "I got the wrong room," Amara said quickly, backing toward the door. "I'm so sorry, I'll just go." "Who sent you?" He took a step forward. "Nobody sent me. I'm a waitress. This is a mistake." The door clicked behind her. She spun around. 2 men in black suits appeared from the shadows. Bodyguards. One of them turned the lock. "Yeah. What are you doing?" Her voice climbed higher. "I told you I work here. Check my badge." The man approached slowly, each step deliberate. His bare chest caught the city lights from the window, making the tattoos seem alive. "Then why did you use a keycard to enter a restricted floor without permission?" "Because I thought this was room 1104. Because I'm tired and I can't read my coworker's handwriting." He stopped 2 feet away from her. Up close, his eyes were darker than she thought. Almost black. "Drop the tray." "What?" "Drop it." Her hands were shaking so badly the glasses were already rattling. The tray slipped from her fingers. The crash echoed through the suite. Champagne spilled across marble. Glass shattered like stars. He said something sharp in Korean to the bodyguards. One of them stepped forward and yanked her work bag off her shoulder. "Wait, that's mine." The contents spilled across a side table. Her employee badge, dead phone, lip gloss, earbuds, a small packet of hot sauce. The man picked up the hot sauce, examining it like evidence. "Why do you carry this?" "Because Korean food sometimes disrespects my taste buds," Amara snapped before she could stop herself. One of the bodyguards coughed, hiding a laugh. The man's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. He set the hot sauce down and picked up her badge, studying the photo. "Amara Okafor, part-time server." His eyes lifted to hers. 3 days ago, someone disguised as hotel staff entered this floor. They planted a recording device in my suite. Same uniform, same access level, same build as you. Her stomach dropped. "You think I'm a spy? You walked into my room uninvited, with a key card that shouldn't work on this floor. You tell me." "I'm not a spy. I don't even know who you are." He pulled a tablet from the side table and tapped the screen, then turned it toward her. Security footage. Black and white. Grainy. A woman in a hotel uniform walking down a hallway. Same height as Amara. Same build. Hair in a ponytail. Just like hers. "That's not me," she whispered. "I know, different face." He zoomed in. The woman's profile appeared for just a second before she turned a corner. "But from behind? You could be twins." Amara stared at the screen. He was right. From that angle, they looked identical. "So what are you saying?" Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. "I'm saying someone either chose you because you look like her, or you're the unluckiest woman in Seoul." He set the tablet down. "Either way, you're not leaving until I know which." She shot to her feet. You can't keep me here. I have rights. He didn't even blink. Not on my floor. This is kidnapping. This is protection. His voice was calm, like they were discussing the weather. If you're innocent, you have nothing to worry about. If I'm innocent? She let out a bitter laugh. I walked into the wrong room. That's the whole story. Then sit down and let me verify it. Amara looked at the bodyguards. They stared back with zero sympathy. She looked at the locked door, then back at him. He gestured to a leather chair by the window. She sat. He pulled up a chair across from her, close enough that their knees almost touched. What's your full name? You already read my badge. Say it. Amara Okafor. How long have you worked here? 6 months. Why? Why what? Why this hotel? Why part-time? She clenched her fists. Because I'm a student and I need money for rent. Is that a crime? What do you study? International business. Not that it's any of your concern. He leaned back, studying her. You have an attitude for someone in your position. You have trust issues for someone who locked an innocent waitress in his room. One of the bodyguards made a choking sound. The man's jaw tightened, but Amara saw it again. That flicker of something. Amusement, maybe. Let me explain your situation, he said quietly. This entire floor is rented by me. Every room. Every camera. Every guard. Hotel staff aren't supposed to have access. So either security failed or someone gave you special clearance. Nobody gave me anything. I was assigned a delivery and I got the room number wrong. Then your timing is incredibly suspicious. He stood and walked to the window, hands in his pockets. The spy we're hunting has been one step ahead of us for weeks. She knows our schedules, our locations, our security gaps. And you think that's me? Amara stood up too. Look at me. Do I look like a professional spy? He turned, scanning her from head to toe, her stained uniform, her worn sneakers, her frizzy ponytail. No, he admitted. You don't. Thank you. Which is why you'd be the perfect cover. She wanted to scream. You're insane. I'm careful. He walked back toward her. And until I'm certain you're not a threat, you stay here. For how long? As long as it takes. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. A knock on the door interrupted them. One of the bodyguards opened it slightly, spoke in low Korean, then stepped aside. A man in a hotel manager's uniform rushed in, bowing repeatedly. Mr. Jin, I sincerely apologize for this disruption. So his name was Jin. The manager's eyes found Amara and widened. Amara, what are you doing here? I delivered to the wrong room, she said quickly. Please tell him I work here. Tell him this is just a mistake. The manager turned back to Jin, bowing lower. Sir, I assure you, this employee had no malicious intent. It was a clerical error. We will terminate her immediately and... What? Amara stepped forward. You're firing me? You entered a restricted floor without authorization. The manager didn't even look at her. Mr. Jin, we'll comp your entire stay and provide additional security. Leave. Jin's voice cut through the room like a blade. The manager blinked. Sir? I said leave. The manager bowed 3 more times and practically ran out the door. Silence filled the room. I just lost my job, Amara said quietly. Because of you. Jin turned to face her. You lost your job because your manager is a coward who'd rather fire you than admit his security failed. That doesn't help me pay rent? No, he agreed. But it tells me something. What? You're not pretending. Your fear is real. Your anger is real. He tilted his head slightly. A trained spy wouldn't react like you just did. Hope flickered in her chest. So you believe me? I believe you're not the spy. He paused. But that doesn't mean you're safe. The hope died instantly. What does that mean? He walked to a desk and pulled out his phone, tapping the screen. Then he turned it toward her. Another photo. The same security footage from before, but zoomed out. Timestamp. 3 days ago. This footage was leaked, Jin said. To my competitors, they think I have the spy in custody, which means they think I have leverage. Her mouth went dry. But you don't. No. But they don't know that. His eyes met hers. They saw this footage. They saw someone who looks exactly like you. And now you've appeared on my floor. So they think I'm the spy? Yes. And they're going to come after me? Yes. Her legs felt weak. She sat down hard on the chair. This can't be happening. It is happening. Jin pocketed his phone, which is why you can't leave. You just said I'm innocent. You are, but they don't know that, and if they find you... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Then let me disappear, she said desperately. Let me leave Seoul. I'll go back home. I'll change my name. They'll find you in 48 hours. How do you know? Because I would. The certainty in his voice made her blood run cold. So what am I supposed to do? Her voice cracked. Just stay locked in here forever? No. He walked to a steel door on the far wall and entered a code on the keypad. The lock clicked. You'll stay somewhere safer. The door swung open, revealing a private corridor lined with soft lighting. Amara's heart hammered against her ribs as Jin gestured for her to enter. She didn't move. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but where would she go? The bodyguards still blocked the main door, and even if she made it past them, Jin's words echoed in her mind. They'll find you in 48 hours. I'm not going anywhere until you explain what's happening, Amara said, forcing her voice to stay steady. You said someone leaked footage. Who? Why? And what do they want with me? Jin's expression remained unreadable. The less you know, the safer you are. That's garbage, and you know it. She crossed her arms. I deserve to know why my life just got turned upside down. For a long moment, Jin simply stared at her. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. You're right. He moved to the window, looking out at Seoul's glittering skyline. 3 weeks ago, someone began targeting my business operations. Shipments went missing. Warehouses were raided. Bank accounts were frozen. Every move perfectly timed, perfectly executed. What kind of business? Amara asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Import and export. His reflection in the glass showed the ghost of a smile. Among other things. That's the worst lie I've ever heard. It's the safest answer I can give you. He turned back to face her. The point is, someone has inside information, someone who knows things only my inner circle should know. We suspected a mole, started monitoring everything. That's when we found the recording device. Amara's mind raced. And you think the spy who planted it looks like me? Not exactly like you, but similar enough that in dim lighting with the same uniform, same hairstyle, the resemblance is significant. Jin pulled up another image on his tablet, this time a clearer shot of the woman's profile. My people have been tracking her. 2 days ago, she disappeared. Completely off the grid. What does that have to do with the leaked footage? Everything. Jin's jaw tightened. The footage was sent to 3 different organizations. All competitors. All dangerous. The message was clear. I'd captured their spy. They want her back. Or they want revenge. Possibly both. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. And now they think I'm her. Yes. Because I walked into the wrong room at the worst possible time. Yes. Amara's legs gave out. She sank back into the chair, pressing her palms against her eyes. This couldn't be real. An hour ago, her biggest problem was making rent. Now she was caught in some kind of corporate espionage nightmare involving a man who definitely wasn't just running a legitimate import business. "I need to call my roommate," she said suddenly. "She'll be worried when I don't come home." "No calls." Jin's tone left no room for argument. "She'll report me missing. Which is why one of my people will deliver a message. You'll tell her you picked up an overnight shift, that you'll be back tomorrow." "She won't believe that. The hotel fired me, remember?" Jin was already typing on his phone. "The hotel will rehire you tomorrow, with a raise, and a written apology from the manager." Amara blinked. "You can do that? I own 40% of this hotel. I can do a lot of things." He finished typing and pocketed his phone. "Now, the safe room." She wanted to argue more, but exhaustion was creeping in, making her thoughts fuzzy. And despite everything, some instinct told her Jin was right. If dangerous people really were looking for someone who resembled her, staying in her tiny apartment wasn't going to protect her. Amara stood on shaky legs and walked toward the open door. The corridor beyond was short, maybe 20 feet, ending at another steel door. Jin followed close behind, his presence both threatening and oddly reassuring. He entered another code, and the second door opened with a pneumatic hiss. The room beyond made Amara's jaw drop. It wasn't a room. It was an apartment. Underground, judging by the lack of windows, but luxurious in a way that made her student housing look like a cardboard box. Plush carpet in deep gray. A king-sized bed with black silk sheets. A sitting area with a leather sofa and a television mounted on the wall. A kitchenette with granite countertops. Even a bathroom visible through a half-open door, all marble and chrome. "This is a safe room?" Amara turned to Jin, incredulous. "This looks like something from a magazine." "I don't believe in sacrificing comfort for security." He walked past her, checking the space with practiced efficiency. The walls are reinforced steel, soundproofed. The air system is independent. There's a panic button by the bed that connects directly to my phone. Use it if you need anything. What I need is to wake up from this nightmare. Jin stopped in the center of the room and faced her fully for the first time since they'd left his suite. In the brighter lighting, Amara could see details she'd missed before. The tattoos weren't random. They formed an intricate pattern, something that looked almost like a dragon's tail curling up his ribcage. The scar on his shoulder was old, healed white against tan skin. And his eyes, those impossibly dark eyes, held something she hadn't expected. Guilt, maybe, or regret. "I'm sorry," Jin said quietly. "You didn't ask for any of this." "Neither did you," Amara heard herself say, surprising both of them. His expression shifted, just barely. "No, but I chose this life. You didn't. That's the difference." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his entire demeanor changed. The guilt vanished, replaced by cold calculation. "Stay here. Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone except me." "What's wrong?" "Nothing you need to worry about." But his hand was already moving to the small of his back, where Amara suddenly realized he'd been carrying a gun this whole time. Her heart rate spiked. "Jin, lock the door." He was already moving, pulling the steel door shut behind him. The lock engaged automatically with a heavy thunk that sounded far too final. Amara stood frozen in the middle of the luxury bunker, her mind reeling. Through the thick walls, she couldn't hear anything from outside. No footsteps, no voices, nothing. It was like being sealed in a tomb, except tombs didn't have 70-inch televisions and espresso machines. She should be terrified. She should be breaking down. Instead, Amara found herself walking to the kitchenette, opening cabinets with numb curiosity. Fully stocked. Expensive brands she recognized from commercials but had never bought. Coffee, tea, instant noodles that probably cost more than her usual meals. A mini fridge filled with bottled water, juice, and, she almost laughed, more champagne. The absurdity of it hit her all at once. She'd delivered champagne to the wrong room and ended up trapped in an underground apartment with her own champagne supply. If she wasn't so scared, it might have been funny. Amara grabbed a bottle of water and moved to the sofa, sinking into leather that probably cost more than her entire education. She needed to think, to process, to figure out what came next. But her mind kept circling back to one thing: Jin's face when he'd apologized. The way his voice had softened just for a moment before snapping back to that controlled, dangerous calm. He was a criminal. That much was obvious. The tattoos, the bodyguards, the casual way he'd mentioned owning part of the hotel, all signs of someone deeply embedded in organized crime. She should hate him, fear him. Instead, she felt something far more complicated. A sudden sound made her jump. Not from outside, from her pocket, her phone. She'd forgotten the bodyguard had returned it after checking her bag. Amara pulled it out with trembling hands. 3 missed calls from her roommate. 7 texts, each more worried than the last. She started typing a response, then stopped. Jin had said no calls, but he'd also said someone would deliver a message. How long would that take? What if her roommate called the police before then? Amara's thumb hovered over the send button. She could text. Just a quick message saying she was fine. It wouldn't hurt anything, would it? Before she could decide, the phone buzzed again. Not a call this time. A notification from an unknown number. Message delivered to your roommate. She believes you're working overnight. Delete this text. Amara stared at the screen. Jin worked fast. Disturbingly fast. She deleted the message as instructed, then set the phone on the coffee table like it might explode. Minutes crawled by. Or maybe hours. Without windows, without her usual routine, time felt meaningless. Amara found herself pacing, examining every corner of her temporary prison. The bathroom was indeed all marble, with a shower that had more jets than she knew what to do with. The closet held clothes in her size. How had he known? All neutral colors, all expensive brands. There was even a small shelf of books, mostly in Korean, but a few in English. She was pulling out a worn copy of a thriller novel when the door lock disengaged. Amara spun around, pulse racing as Jin entered. He was wearing a shirt now, black and fitted, but his expression was darker than before. Blood stained his right knuckles. What happened? The words escaped before Amara could stop them. Jin glanced at his hand like he'd forgotten about the blood. Minor disagreement with someone who thought they could access this floor. Is that person still alive? Barely. He said it without emotion, like reporting the weather. They won't be a problem anymore. Amara should be horrified. She should demand to be let go immediately. Instead, she heard herself ask, "Were they looking for me?" Jin's eyes met hers, and something in his expression softened. "No. Looking for me. But it's a reminder that my enemies are getting bold, which means keeping you here is the right choice, even if you hate me for it. I don't hate you." The admission surprised her as much as it clearly surprised him. "I'm terrified. I'm confused. I'm angry. But I don't hate you." He studied her for a long moment, and Amara felt exposed under that intense gaze. Finally, Jin moved to the kitchenette sink and began washing the blood from his hands. "You should get some rest. Tomorrow will be complicated." "How am I supposed to sleep? I don't even know what tomorrow means." Jin dried his hands on a towel, each movement precise and controlled. "Tomorrow, I'm going to do 3 things. First, I'll find out who leaked that footage and why. Second, I'll locate the real spy and confirm she's no longer a threat. Third, I'll make it very clear to my competitors that the woman in that footage is not in my custody and never was. And after that? After that, You go back to your life, with enough money to cover a year's rent and a strong recommendation for any job you want. Amara's breath caught. You'd pay me? After all this? Consider it compensation for the worst shift of your life. He moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Amara, I hope you understand. This isn't personal. I don't enjoy frightening innocent people. But in my world, caution keeps you alive. Mercy gets you killed. What about redemption? The question came from somewhere deep. Somewhere she didn't know existed until this moment. Does redemption have a place in your world? Jin's hand tightened on the door frame. Redemption is for people who deserve a second chance. I stopped deserving anything like that years ago. He left before Amara could respond, the door locking behind him with that same definitive sound. She stood there staring at nothing, replaying his words. The way his voice had cracked, almost imperceptibly, on the word deserve. This man was dangerous, violent, criminal. But he was also something else, something haunted, something broken. Amara walked to the bed and sat on the edge, her body finally registering how exhausted she was. The silk sheets felt cool against her skin as she lay back, still fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. She should be planning an escape. Instead, she found herself wondering about Jin's story. What had happened to turn him into this? What kind of life led someone to build a luxury bunker and casually mention that mercy got you killed? Sleep crept up on her unexpectedly, pulling her under like a wave. Her last conscious thought was of Jin's eyes, the way they'd softened for just a moment when he'd said her name. Then darkness claimed her, and she dreamed of locked doors and men with tattoos and blood on their hands. When Amara woke, she had no idea what time it was. The room was still lit by the same soft ambient lighting, giving no clue whether it was morning or midnight. She checked her phone. 7 hours had passed. 7 hours spent in an underground bunker while Jin did whatever violent, illegal things he did in the world above. She was about to get up when the door opened. Jin entered carrying a tray, and Amara blinked in confusion. Is that breakfast? It's 2 p.m, but yes. He set the tray on the coffee table. Steam rose from what looked like Korean stew, rice, and several side dishes. You need to eat. You brought me food? Don't you have people for that? I don't trust anyone else with your location. Jin sat in the chair across from the sofa, watching as Amara reluctantly moved to the table. Besides, I needed to brief you on the situation. That got her attention. You found something? Several things. None of them good. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The footage leak didn't come from my organization. It came from an outside source. Someone who hacked our security system specifically to get that clip. Amara's spoon paused halfway to her mouth. Why would someone do that? To destabilize my operation, create confusion, make my competitors think I'm holding something valuable. His jaw tightened. It's working. I've had 3 separate groups attempt contact in the last 12 hours, all demanding I return the spy, all threatening war if I don't comply. But you don't have her. No. Which means I can't give them what they want. Which means war. Amara finished quietly. She set down her spoon, appetite gone. This is my fault. If I hadn't walked into your room, if you hadn't walked in, they would have found another way to escalate. This was planned, Amara, carefully orchestrated. Jin's expression was grim. You were just unlucky enough to fit their narrative. She wanted to scream, cry, throw something. Instead, she took a deep breath and met his eyes. So what now? You said you'd find the real spy. I did find her, this morning, in a warehouse district near the port. He paused. She's dead. Has been for at least 48 hours. The room seemed to tilt. Dead? Executed. Professional job. Single shot to the head. Jin's voice was flat, clinical. Whoever is orchestrating this wanted to make sure no one could contradict their narrative. As long as the real spy is gone, everyone will believe the woman in the footage. The woman who looks like you is still alive and in my custody. Amara stood abruptly, needing to move, to do something with the panic building in her chest. Then tell them the truth. Show them the body. Prove I'm not her. I can't. Jin stood too, and suddenly he was close. Too close. The moment I reveal I found her body, they'll know I've been actively investigating. They'll see it as an admission of guilt. It will make everything worse. How can it possibly get worse? They could decide that if I won't return the spy, they'll take something else from me. Something valuable. His eyes bore into hers. They could decide to take you anyway, just to hurt me. The implication hit her like a physical blow. You're saying I'm bait now. Even though I'm innocent. Even though I have nothing to do with any of this. I'm saying you became leverage the moment you walked into my room. And I'm sorry for that. Truly. Jin's hand twitched, like he wanted to reach for her but stopped himself. But I will protect you, no matter what it costs. Why? Amara demanded. Why do you care? You don't know me. I'm just some waitress who made a mistake. Because you're innocent. Because you don't deserve to suffer for my sins. His voice dropped lower. And because I've destroyed enough lives, I won't add yours to the list. They stood there, barely a foot apart, and Amara felt something shift in the air between them. Something dangerous and electric. She should step back. Should maintain distance. Instead, she heard herself whisper, "What happened to you, Jin? What made you this way?" For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he did. His voice so quiet she almost didn't hear. I made a choice. 10 years ago. I chose power over principle, money over morality, and every day since then, I've lived with the consequences. Is that why you built this place? Why you keep people at arm's length? I built this place because trust is a luxury I can't afford. He finally stepped back, breaking whatever spell had formed. Now finish your food. We have work to do. Work? If I can't give them the spy, I need to give them something else. A distraction, a bigger target. Jin moved to the door. I'm going to make myself vulnerable. Draw their attention away from you. Amara's stomach dropped. That's insane. They'll kill you. They'll try. They won't succeed. He said it with absolute certainty. But while they're focused on me, my people will work to identify who's behind this. Once we have a name, we can end it. And what am I supposed to do? Just sit here and wait? Jin turned, one hand on the door. Trust me. It's the hardest thing I'll ever ask you to do, but I need you to trust me. Before Amara could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression went cold. Get away from the door. What? Why? An explosion rocked the building. The lights flickered. Amara stumbled, catching herself on the sofa. Jin was already moving, gun in hand, yelling something in Korean into his phone. Then he was at her side, pulling her toward the bathroom. What's happening? Amara's ears rang from the blast. They found us. Jin pushed her into the bathroom. Stay here. Do not come out until I tell you it's safe. Jin. He was gone, slamming the bathroom door behind him. Amara stood in the marble room, heart hammering, listening to muffled shouts and what sounded like gunfire in the distance. This was real. This was happening. People were actually trying to kill Jin, and by extension, her. She slid down to the floor, pulling her knees to her chest, and waited. Outside, the battle raged on. And inside, Amara realized with terrifying clarity that her life would never be the same again. The bathroom door muffled most of the chaos, but Amara could still hear everything. Gunshots cracked like thunder. Men shouted in Korean. Something heavy crashed against a wall. She pressed her hands over her ears, trying to block it out, but the sound seeped through anyway. How long had she been hiding? 5 minutes? 20? Time had lost all meaning in the windowless marble room. Her phone sat useless in her pocket. Who would she even call? The police? And tell them what? That she was trapped in an underground bunker while a mafia boss fought off assassins? Another explosion, closer this time. The entire room shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Amara scrambled into the bathtub, curling into the smallest target possible. Her nursing school training kicked in automatically. Assess the situation. Stay calm. Find the exits. Except there were no exits. Just one door, and Jin had told her not to open it. The gunfire stopped. Silence pressed against her eardrums, somehow worse than the noise. Amara held her breath, straining to hear anything. Footsteps, voices, some sign that Jin was still alive. Nothing. Then, a single knock on the bathroom door. 3 sharp raps. Amara, Jin's voice, rough but steady. It's over, you can come out. She didn't move. How do I know it's really you? A pause. You asked me about redemption. I said I stopped deserving it years ago. It was him. Amara's legs trembled as she climbed out of the tub and opened the door. Jin stood in the doorway, and her breath caught. Blood streaked his shirt. A cut above his left eyebrow leaked red down his temple. His knuckles were split open, fresh blood mixing with old. Are you hurt? The question came out before she could stop it. Nothing serious. Jin moved into the bathroom, turning on the sink. He washed his hands with mechanical precision, watching pink water swirl down the drain. We need to move. This location is compromised. Move where? Somewhere they won't find you. He dried his hands and finally met her eyes. Pack anything you need from this room. We leave in 5 minutes. Amara's mind raced. What happened out there? How many were there? 6. All eliminated or captured. He said it flatly, like reporting a grocery list. But they weren't the real threat. They were a distraction. A distraction from what? Jin pulled out his phone, tapping rapidly. From this. He turned the screen toward her. A news article, published 20 minutes ago. The headline made her stomach drop. Celestial Phoenix Hotel evacuated after gas leak scare. There was no gas leak, Amara whispered. No, but while I was dealing with the assault team, someone else accessed the hotel's main server. They downloaded every piece of security footage from the past month, including recordings of you, your shifts, your routines, where you live. The room tilted. Amara grabbed the doorframe for support. They know where I live. They knew where you lived. My people got to your apartment first. Your roommate thinks you're still at work. She's safe. Jin pocketed his phone. But we're running out of time. Every minute we stay here increases the risk. Amara wanted to argue, to demand more answers, but the cold logic of survival overrode everything else. She moved to the closet, grabbing a black hoodie and pants from the selection Jin had somehow provided. Turn around. He did, without question or comment. Amara changed quickly, abandoning her stained uniform in a heap on the floor. The clothes fit perfectly, which should have been creepy, but now just seemed practical. When she was done, Jin handed her a pair of sneakers without looking. How did you know my size? I know a lot of things. He moved to the door. Ready? No, but does it matter? Something flickered in his expression. Respect, maybe. Stay close. Don't speak unless I tell you to. If shooting starts, get behind me and stay behind me. Understand? Amara nodded, her throat too tight for words. Jin opened the steel door. The corridor beyond was darker than before. Emergency lighting casting everything in red. 2 of his bodyguards waited there, both armed, both scanning the shadows with practiced alertness. They exchanged rapid Korean with Jin, gesturing toward the far end of the hallway. One of them glanced at Amara, his expression unreadable. He said something in Korean that made Jin's jaw tighten. "What did he say?" Amara asked quietly. "He asked if you're worth all this trouble." Jin didn't look at her. "I told him that's not his decision to make." They moved through corridors Amara hadn't known existed. Service tunnels, maintenance shafts, passages that connected the hotel's underground infrastructure like a secret maze. The bodyguards led. Jin stayed close to her side, and every shadow felt like it was hiding a threat. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, they emerged into an underground parking garage. A black SUV waited near the exit ramp, engine running, windows tinted dark enough to be illegal. Jin opened the back door and gestured for Amara to get in. She hesitated. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have right now." His voice softened, just slightly. "Please, Amara. Trust me one more time." She climbed into the SUV. Jin slid in beside her, and the bodyguards took the front seats. The vehicle pulled out smoothly, merging into Seoul's late afternoon traffic like they were just another car full of ordinary people going about ordinary lives. Amara stared out the window, watching the city scroll past. Neon signs, street vendors, couples walking hand in hand. Normal life, happening all around them, while she sat next to a man with blood on his shirt and secrets in his eyes. "Can I ask you something?" she said. After a long silence, Jin didn't look away from his phone. "You can ask. I might not answer. Earlier, you said you made a choice 10 years ago. What choice?" His fingers stopped moving on the screen. For a moment, she thought he wouldn't respond. Then quietly, "My family owned a small trading company, legitimate business. Barely profitable, but honest. When I was 22, a rival organization tried to take it over. They killed my father, put my mother in the hospital." Amara's breath caught. "I'm sorry. I had two options. Go to the police, who were already bought and paid for, or handle it myself. I chose violence. I chose revenge. And I was good at it." His voice was hollow. "Too good. By the time I'd destroyed everyone responsible, I'd become exactly what they were. A criminal. A monster." "You're not a monster." Jin finally looked at her, and the pain in his eyes was raw enough to hurt. "You don't know what I've done. I know you protected me. I know you could have let me go and saved yourself this trouble, but you didn't." Amara surprised herself by reaching out, touching his blood-stained sleeve. "That's not what monsters do." He stared at her hand on his arm like it was something alien and incomprehensible. "You should be afraid of me." "I am afraid, just not of you." Before Jin could respond, the driver said something sharp in Korean. Jin's entire body tensed. He looked out the back window, then cursed under his breath. "What's wrong?" Amara tried to see what he was looking at. "We're being followed. Black sedan, 2 cars back." Jin's hand moved to his waistband, where Amara knew he kept his gun. "They picked us up 3 blocks ago." The driver accelerated, weaving through traffic with precision that suggested this wasn't his first chase. Amara gripped the door handle, her heart in her throat. The black sedan matched their movements, staying close but not closing the distance. "Why aren't they attacking?" she asked. "Because we're in public. Too many witnesses." Jin was texting rapidly on his phone. "But the moment we reach a quiet street," he didn't need to finish. Amara understood perfectly. The SUV took a sharp right turn, then another, diving deeper into Seoul's dense urban landscape. The sedan followed. They were heading toward the river, away from the commercial districts, toward industrial zones where witnesses would be scarce. "Can we lose them?" Amara's voice shook despite her best efforts. "We're not trying to lose them." Jin put his phone away. "We're leading them somewhere specific." "That sounds like a terrible plan." "It's the only plan we have." They crossed a bridge, the Han River glittering below in the afternoon sun. On the far side, the buildings changed. Warehouses, shipping containers, abandoned lots waiting for development that might never come. The driver pulled into what looked like a dead-end alley. Amara's pulse spiked. What are we doing? Getting answers. Jin checked his gun with practiced efficiency. Stay in the vehicle. No matter what happens, stay inside and stay down. Jin, promise me. His eyes locked onto hers with fierce intensity. Promise me you won't try to be brave. I promise, she whispered. He nodded and exited the SUV, followed by his bodyguards. Through the tinted windows, Amara watched them take positions behind the vehicle, using it as cover. The black sedan pulled up at the alley entrance, blocking their only exit. 3 men got out, all wearing dark suits, all carrying weapons openly, no longer bothering with subtlety. They approached slowly, fanning out to prevent Jin and his men from escaping. One of them shouted something in Korean. Jin responded, his voice calm but carrying an edge of warning. The conversation went back and forth, tense words in a language Amara couldn't fully understand. She caught a few phrases. The woman. Where is she? Last chance. Jin said something that made all 3 men laugh. It wasn't a pleasant sound. Then everything exploded into motion. The first shot came from the sedan. Jin and his bodyguards returned fire instantly. Amara ducked below the window, hands over her head, as bullets punched through metal and glass exploded somewhere nearby. The SUV's reinforced body held, but she could hear impacts, feel the vehicle shudder with each hit. It lasted maybe 30 seconds, maybe a lifetime. Amara couldn't tell. Then silence, broken only by someone groaning in pain. She risked lifting her head enough to see through the window. 2 of the attackers were down, not moving. The third was on his knees, hands raised, blood pouring from his shoulder. Jin stood over him, gun pointed at his head, asking questions in rapid Korean. The wounded man shook his head. Refused to answer. Jin pressed the gun against his temple and asked again, his voice so cold it made Amara shiver even from inside the vehicle. The man broke, started talking, words tumbling out between gasps of pain. Jin listened, his expression darkening with each sentence. Then he pulled out his phone, took a photo of the man's face, and stepped back. He said something final. The wounded man's eyes went wide with fear. Jin gestured to his bodyguards, who dragged the man to his feet and shoved him toward the sedan. Jin returned to the SUV and climbed in beside Amara. Are you hurt? She shook her head, not trusting her voice. Good. He was already texting again. We have a name. The person behind all of this. Who? Jin showed her the phone. A photo of a woman, maybe mid-40s, elegant and sharp-eyed. Park Mi-sun. She runs a competing organization, smuggling mostly. I shut down 3 of her operations last year. So this is revenge? Revenge and opportunity. She leaked the footage to destabilize me, make my allies question my competence. Then she planned to swoop in and take over my territory while I was distracted. Jin's jaw clenched. She used you as bait. Calculated that I'd either hand over the spy to avoid a war, or refuse, and look weak. Either way, she wins. Amara processed this. So what now? Now I go talk to Park Mi-sun, personally. That sounds like walking into a trap. It is, but it's the only way to end this. Jin met her eyes. I'm taking you somewhere safe first, a place even Park doesn't know about. You'll stay there with my most trusted people until this is over. How long will that take? Hours. Maybe a day. He paused. Maybe longer if things go badly. The implication hung heavy between them. If things went badly, Jin might not come back at all. There has to be another way, Amara said. Something that doesn't involve you walking into certain death. I've been walking toward death my entire life. This is just another step. Jin's voice was matter of fact. The difference is, this time I'm doing it for the right reason. To protect someone innocent. That's more than I usually get. Stop talking like you're already dead. Amara grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. You're not doing this alone. I won't let you. You don't have a choice. Neither do you. She tightened her grip. I'm the reason you're in this mess. I walked into your room. I became leverage against you. So if you're going to confront this Park Mi-sun woman, I'm coming with you. Jin stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Absolutely not. She thinks I'm the spy. She thinks I'm valuable to you. Use that. Amara was surprised by her own words, by the cold logic pouring out of her mouth. Bring me. Let her think she's won. Then do whatever you do when people underestimate you. That's insane. I won't put you in more danger. I'm already in danger. At least this way, I'm part of the solution instead of a victim waiting in a safe house. She released his arm. You said you've destroyed enough lives. Prove it. Let me help you fix this. Jin was quiet for a long moment, studying her face like he was seeing her for the first time. You're either very brave or very stupid. You said that already. I'm starting to think it's both. But something in his expression shifted. Consideration. Maybe even respect. If I agree to this, you follow every instruction I give. No questions, no hesitation. One mistake could get us both killed. I understand. And if things go wrong, you run. You don't look back. You don't try to help me. You just run. There's a safe house address in my phone. The code is 1104. The room number? Of course it was. Why that code? Because that's where this all started. Where you walked into my life and complicated everything? Jin almost smiled. And because I don't want to forget the exact moment when someone looked at me and didn't see a monster. Amara's throat tightened. Jin. Don't. He looked away. Don't make this harder than it already is. The driver said something in Korean. Jin nodded and responded briefly. The SUV pulled out of the alley, leaving the bodies and the wrecked sedan behind. They drove in silence, heading toward whatever confrontation waited for them. After 20 minutes, they stopped in front of a nondescript office building in a business district. Glass and steel, completely ordinary, the kind of place that housed accounting firms and law offices. Jin led Amara inside, past security guards who nodded respectfully, into an elevator that required a keycard to operate. Park Mi-sun owns this building? Amara asked as they ascended. The top 3 floors. She runs her operation out of the penthouse, hiding in plain sight. Jin checked his gun one more time. Very few people get invited up there. Even fewer leave. Encouraging. The elevator dinged. 23rd floor. The doors opened onto a reception area that looked more like a luxury hotel lobby than an office. Marble floors, expensive art, a receptionist who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. She spoke to Jin in Korean, her smile professional but cold. He responded briefly, and her eyes flickered to Amara with undisguised curiosity. She picked up her phone, made a call, then gestured toward a set of double doors. She's expecting us, Jin murmured. Remember. Follow my lead, no matter what happens. Amara nodded, her heart hammering so hard she thought Jin must be able to hear it. The double doors opened into an office that defied every expectation. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's skyline. Minimalist furniture in blacks and whites. Fresh flowers on a glass desk. And behind that desk, Park Mi-sun herself. She was even more striking in person than in her photo. Hair pulled back severely, emphasizing razor-sharp cheekbones. A designer suit that probably cost more than Amara's entire wardrobe. Eyes that assessed them both with predatory intelligence. Jin Do-hyun. Her English was flawless, barely accented. I wondered when you'd figure it out. I'm here now. Jin's voice was steady, controlled. Let's talk. Park Mi-sun's gaze shifted to Amara. And you brought the infamous spy. How considerate. She circled her desk, heels clicking on marble. I have to admit, I'm impressed. You've kept her hidden for days. My people have been searching everywhere. She's not a spy, Jin said flatly. She's a waitress who walked into the wrong room at the wrong time. You know this. Do I? Park stopped a few feet away, studying Amara like a specimen under glass. Or is that what you want me to believe? Perhaps she's the real spy, and the dead woman we found was the decoy. An elaborate double-cross. The only elaborate plan here is yours. Jin's hand didn't move toward his weapon, but Amara could sense the readiness in every line of his body. You leaked that footage. You killed the real spy. You've been orchestrating this entire situation to destabilize my operation and take over my territory. Park smiled. Prove it. The man your people sent to follow us 3 hours ago. He talked. Gave me names, dates, payment records. Everything ties back to you. The smile faltered. Just for a second, but Amara caught it. Whatever story you've concocted won't hold up. My lawyers. I don't need lawyers. I need answers. Jin stepped forward. Why now? Why go through all this trouble? If you wanted war, you could have started one directly. Park's expression hardened. Because I'm tired of men like you holding power you don't deserve. You inherited your organization through violence, built it on fear. I earned mine through strategy, through intelligence, and yet, you get respect, while I get dismissed as just another competitor. So this is about ego. This is about taking what should have been mine years ago. Park's voice turned cold. And your little waitress here gave me the perfect opportunity. All I had to do was create confusion, make you look weak, and watch your allies abandon you. Except it didn't work. Jin's smile was razor sharp. Because while you were focused on creating chaos, I was documenting everything. Every move you made, every person you contacted, every dollar you spent. And 20 minutes ago, I sent all of that evidence to every major organization in Seoul. Park's face went white. You're lying. Am I? Jin pulled out his phone, showed her the screen. A sent email, dozens of recipients. By now, everyone knows you're behind the spy leak. Everyone knows you killed her to cover your tracks. Everyone knows you've been trying to manipulate them into a war they don't want. You've destroyed me, Park whispered. No. You destroyed yourself the moment you decided an innocent woman was acceptable collateral damage. Jin pocketed his phone. Now you have 2 choices. Disappear and hope none of your former allies come looking for you, or stay and face consequences you really don't want to face. Park looked between Jin and Amara, calculation and rage warring in her expression. For a terrifying moment, Amara thought she might pull a weapon, might decide to take them both down with her. Instead, Park laughed. It was bitter and broken. You think you've won. But this doesn't change what you are, Jin. You're still a killer, still a criminal. Protecting one innocent girl doesn't redeem you. I know. Jin's voice was soft. But it's a start. He turned and walked toward the door, gently taking Amara's arm. She let him guide her. Not taking her eyes off Park until they were through the double doors and back in the elevator. As soon as the doors closed, Amara's legs gave out. Jin caught her, holding her steady as delayed shock crashed through her system. It's over, he said quietly. You're safe now. Is she really going to disappear? If she's smart. If not. He didn't finish, but Amara understood. Park Mi-sun had made powerful enemies today. Her survival depended on how quickly she could vanish. The elevator descended in silence. When they reached the lobby, Jin led Amara outside, where the SUV waited. But instead of getting in immediately, he stopped on the sidewalk, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "What you did up there," he said. "Coming with me, playing the part. That took courage. Or stupidity. We've established I have both." Jin's lips twitched, almost a smile. "I need to take you home. Your real home. Your life. What about you?" "I have a lot of damage to repair. Alliances to rebuild. A organization to restructure." He paused. "It's going to take time. Months, maybe. And you shouldn't be part of that world." Amara's chest tightened. "So this is goodbye. This is me keeping my promise. You go back to being a student. I'll make sure the hotel compensates you properly. More than properly. And you forget this ever happened." "I don't think I can forget this." She looked up at him. "I don't think I can forget you." Something raw flashed in Jin's eyes. "Amara, I'm not saying I want to join your organization or become some criminal's girlfriend," she said quickly. "I'm just saying, maybe someday, when you've finished restructuring and rebuilding, maybe you could let me know if you found that redemption you don't think you deserve." Jin was quiet for a long moment. Then carefully he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "If I ever become the kind of man who deserves someone like you, you'll be the first to know. Promise?" "Promise." He stepped back, creating distance that felt necessary and heartbreaking all at once. "The SUV will take you home. My people will make sure you're safe. Make sure your roommate doesn't ask too many questions. Tomorrow, this will all feel like a very strange dream. And you? I'll be fine. I always am." But the sadness in his voice suggested fine wasn't the same as happy. Amara climbed into the SUV, and Jin closed the door behind her. Through the tinted window she watched him stand on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, looking more alone than anyone should ever look. As the vehicle pulled away, merging into Seoul's evening traffic, Amara pressed her hand against the glass. Jin raised his hand once, a small gesture that felt like both a greeting and a farewell. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the city's neon glow. Amara leaned back in her seat, exhausted and overwhelmed and strangely hopeful. She'd walked into the wrong hotel room and found a man drowning in his own darkness. Maybe she couldn't save him. Maybe no one could. But maybe, just maybe, she'd given him a reason to want to save himself. So that's how it happened. That's how a simple waitress accidentally walked into the wrong room and got tangled up with a mafia boss who refused to let her go. Not because he wanted to keep her prisoner, but because protecting her was the first truly good thing he'd done in years. Did it end happily? Not really. Did it end safely? Yes. Did it end with possibility? Absolutely. And if you want to know whether Jin ever makes good on that promise, whether he ever becomes the kind of man who deserves redemption, then you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Drop a fire emoji in the comments if this story had you hooked from start to finish. And tell me, honestly, would you have trusted Jin? Would you have walked into that confrontation with him, or would you have run the first chance you got? Part 2 is coming, and trust me, this story is far from over. Jin may have let Amara go, but the connection between them? That's just beginning. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next chapter.